This is the home screen for John Grenham's site Irish Ancestors, and the URL is johngrenham.com. There are a lot of things that you can do here, and you can see that one of the first things you might be able to do is type in a name here. Now, again, this isn't going to search for a record about about a specific Daly family, but what it will do is it will allow you to search and take a look at where the Daly families are located in Ireland. And as you can see, they're pretty much all over. So this screen though can give you a lot of information. Over here you can see all of the different spellings. Daly is the most common, but there are a lot of other spellings that show up in Griffith's valuation. This particular map is based on the time period from 1847 to 1864, which is when Griffith's valuation was done. It also gives you some alternative spellings that might show up in other kinds of records in Ireland. And down here, it gives you a breakdown by county of how many Dalys there were in each one of the counties. Now, as you can see, I'm probably pretty lucky that my Dalys were not from Cork, but they were from Mayo. And you can see there's quite a few, quite a much smaller number of Dalys from that area. And I can click on Mayo and see the breakdown of where they're located in that particular county. Another thing that you can do from this page, and this is where knowing something about your family is so important, is you can type in a second surname down here. So this would be the name of a wife, a maiden name of a wife of a couple that was married in County Mayo. And I'm going to type in Corain. And what this will do is it will then just find the parishes where both of those names occurred. Now remember that our ancestors were not particularly mobile and didn't move around a lot, so they married somebody within their own parish or one of the adjoining parishes. So if I look down here, and remember I know at this point already that Mayo is the county of my Dalys, you can see that there are only 3 locations where both of those names occur. So this really takes down the number of places. If I wasn't exactly sure where they were, this would take down the number of localities that I needed to check. Now, I'm going to skip through a lot of other things and maybe come back to them at a later date, but the part of the website that I use the most is this sitemap. And if you click on sitemap, what you get is a list of all of the information that's on the site. But I sort of jump down here to the civil parish maps. Now, if you're not familiar with Irish jurisdictions, go back 2 or 3 weeks and read the blog that I did on Irish jurisdictions. I'm going to click down here on the civil parish map, and I get a map of all of the counties. I'm going to click on Mayo. And what will happen is it will give me a list of all of the civil parishes in Mayo. Now I happen to know that my ancestors come from the parish of Kilvine. And so if I click on Kilvine, I get a page that is going to tell me a lot of information about that particular locality. The first thing that I do is look at the map to find out where the actual parish is. And as you can see, it's down here. It's number 55. And just by looking at the map, what jumps out to me right away is the fact that it's on a border. Now, our ancestors typically would have attended church in the parish where they lived, but sometimes if they were close to the border, they may just sort of jump over, and if you can't find records in the place where you believe they lived, you might want to check the surrounding parishes. Over here, you get a list of what those adjoining parishes are. And actually, the 3 locations where there were both Dalys and Corains were Anna, Crossboyne, and Kilcoman. Those were the 3 places. So as you can see, the area where both of those names fall are in three adjoining parishes. So I get a list of all of the common names, and you can see Karain is one of the popular names in that area, actually the most common name. But you can tell all of the others, and notice that Daly is not one of them. Daly is not that common a name in County Mayo, which is very helpful. Now, here I have a list of all of the townlands that are in the Kilvine. And I happen to know that my family was from Crumlin. This is the name of the townland. And if I click on Crumlin, it'll take me automatically to Ask About Ireland to look for people from that townland in Griffith's valuation. And if I click on 1901, it'll take me to the 1901 census at the National Archives, and the same with 1911. I want to talk a little bit, though, here about the summary of sources for Kilvine. The one that I probably used the most and that I talked about were church records. So here I have a list of all of the church records for the churches in Kilvine, including what dates are covered by those records and where they're located. Now, Kilvine is one of the few places in Ireland that never had their records filmed for the National Library. So there would be no records at Ancestry or Find My Past that is indexed the National Library images for this particular parish. So I could keep searching there all I wanted, but I wouldn't find any of my dailies in those records. Interestingly, however, the records for Kilvine have been microfilmed by Family Search, and you can actually look at a microfilm of them if you're in Salt Lake City. That microfilm has not been digitized, so it's not available online. The other place that you would find Roman Catholic records would be at the Mayo South Family History Center. And those are the records that actually show up at Roots Ireland. They were indexed back in the late 80s, early 90s by that Heritage Center. Notice that the earliest records don't start until 1870. So as much as I'd like to go and find my John Daly from 1835, I am not going to find a baptismal record for him because they just don't exist. Now, notice also for the Roman Catholic records that you see baptisms and marriages. You will rarely find Roman Catholic burial records. There are some, I've been very lucky in Longford and Westmeath, that they do have burial records for the Roman Catholic Church. But for the most part, you're not going to find burial records. Now, coming down here, there was also a Church of Ireland church in that area. And this can be a little depressing as well. 1699 were the earliest baptismal records for that parishes, and marriages in 1777. However, they were held by the Public Records Office and unfortunately were destroyed. So that the earliest records for Church of Ireland in that area are 1884 for baptisms and 1846 for marriages. And the reason we have the earlier marriages is that Protestant marriages were kept as civil records from 1845. Notice they also have burial records, but again, they don't start till 1887 because the earlier records were destroyed in the fire. So I get a lot of information. If you're looking for someone and you want to find out if you can find a baptismal or a marriage record, you need to check to see if the records exist, because especially with Roman Catholic records, they start at all different times. Average about 1820, but we have some that go back into the 1700s, and then you have places like this where they don't start until 1870, which is after civil registration. Now, there are a lot of other types of records for this particular area, and one that I want to point out are local histories. Because I don't have a lot of early records for this area, what I want to do is I want to read about the local history, because I might find some information about my family in the local history. And even if I don't, I'll learn what life was like during that time frame. So John has pulled up a whole list. He actually gives the call numbers in many cases for the National Library site for many of these books. However, what I would suggest you do is take this information and put it in WorldCat and find out if there is a local library, or if your library can do an interlibrary loan from another library here in the United States. Unfortunately, we don't have any estate records for this area, but it does have some census type records. And again, these are the replacements, since the earliest complete census we have is 1901. But it will list some of these various records that exist and where they can be found. In many cases, they've been published in some type of a journal over in Ireland. And in other cases, they are in manuscript form at one of the repositories in Ireland. But this will give you an idea of what kinds of records are available. So I would really strongly recommend that you spend some time on this website if you know the place where your ancestors came from, just to find out what types of records are available in either in Ireland or online for that area for the time that your ancestors were there.